Hello, my name is Hanna from HERBGARDEN knitwear, and this video is all about Amsterdam and its beautiful yarn shops. In the end of February, I went to Amsterdam in the Netherlands with my mom, and I spent 2 beautiful days there, and it was absolutely lovely. And I had planned to do this as a vlog style video. I had my camera with me, walking around the city, talking to you, and as I came home, I realized that I will not be able to use that footage as I had planned, because it was so windy that you cannot understand a word I say. It is so loud, there's absolutely nothing that you can hear from what I said, so I'm going to get creative now, and I will try to do this as a little voiceover video and edit this in a way that you can still enjoy the footage that I took. So we went to 3 yarn stores, of course, to Stephen and Penelope, which I'm sure you all already heard of, but there are 2 other very beautiful yarn stores in Amsterdam as well. One is named Hooks and Yarn, and the other one is called the Afstap. And we visited all 3 of them, and in 2 of them I was able to take footage for you, which I will share in this video, and I really hope you enjoy it. And I also created a little map of Amsterdam with the things that I talk about marked in the map, so that you can see the locations, and if you are planning your personal trip to Amsterdam, you might find this helpful. So the map is linked down in the description box below. So let's dive right in. I guess we start with the part that most of you are probably looking forward to, with Stephen and Penelope's. So as you can imagine, we all have heard about it. We probably all wanted to go at some point. I've never been before. This was the first time I went there, and it was everything I had hoped for. It is yarn heaven. The people there were so nice. It was, I felt very welcome. It was absolutely okay that I took out my camera. Of course, I asked first, and I was able to show you a little bit of the beautiful yarns that they have there. There were a lot of stunning and beautiful hand-dyed yarns, speckled ones, variegated ones. It was just, you just can't get enough. It's so hard to choose. It was absolutely lovely. me and my mom both got a little bit of yarn. We did not too much damage. She just picked 3 skeins for a hat and maybe a shawl, which I can obviously not show you because she has them with her, but I also chose some yarn, and I picked a sweater quantity of this lovely shade of bluish red, almost purple kind of color. It is a very deep tone with a little bit of variation in it, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Maybe, I'm not sure, maybe on the camera it is a tiny bit warmer than it actually is, but it is pretty close. And it is called A Room of My Own, a Susan Crawford collection, hand-dyed in the Lancashire, oh my god, I can't say that. I'm sorry. Please help me pronounce this. I put it in the camera so that you can read it. Focus, come on. So, I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry, but maybe you can. And it is 100 grams and 400 meters. So it is quite thin, and it is 100% British wool. And the color is called Plum Jam. Yeah. And I'm absolutely in love with this shade. It's going to make such a beautiful sweater. It feels a little bit rustic. It doesn't say if it is superwash or not. From what I can feel, I would rather guess it is non-superwash. It says hand wash only as well, so I'm not entirely sure, as it doesn't specify, but to me it feels like a non-superwash yarn. If somebody of you knows this yarn, then I would appreciate if you would let me know if this is superwash or non-superwash. And of course I will show you them all together because, oh, look at this. Isn't this color just to die for? I'm absolutely in love with the shade, and I cannot wait to make a sweater out of it. I have not quite decided yet what kind of sweater I want to make, but I feel, as always, I probably will need to swatch and slowly wrap my head around an idea, but I believe I might want something that maybe has a little bit of texture, but also stockinette stitch, so that the color can really shine. So that is what I have in mind right now, but if you know me, then you know I sometimes go from one idea to another, and somehow at the end there is a new design. But you know, I cannot promise anything, but I'm really happy with this, and yeah. And there's one more thing I bought at Stephen and Penelope's, and now you will probably be very surprised. So I bought this 9-inch circular Chaigu sock needle. And if you know me, then you know that I have not yet knit socks in my whole life. So I've been knitting for years, but I have to admit that I have so far avoided to knit socks. And that is because I really don't like working at such a small circumference. I can get myself to do this when I'm working on sleeves, because I really want to finish the sweater. But oh boy, like socks like really felt like something I didn't wanna attempt. And then I heard so many people talk about these circular needles, and I was a little bit, I was not quite sure if that would work for me. First of all, because I believe these Chaigu needles always metal needles. I'm not sure if they do have like these tiny circular needles in as wooden needles. And I usually always work with wooden needles, no matter what kind of yarn I'm using. I'm a big fan of wooden needles. I really like that they are not as slippery. Even after all these years, I'm working still with wooden needles. And I was not quite sure if the metal needle would work for me, and also I was not quite sure about the small circumference. So if I get them out of here, you can see they are really, really tiny, and if I close them up, you can see that there's also a little bit of tension on the cord. So yeah, so far I of course asked other knitters, and some of them really love these tiny needles and others really hate them. So it really was an experiment, but I already tried them and I love them. I won't get into this too much right now because I really want to show you what socks I made in the next podcast episode. But I've tried them, I love them, and I am now officially a sock knitter. Yes. And yes, so that was our first stop at Stephen and Penelope's. It was absolutely wonderful. As I said, everybody was so nice. It was really hard to decide what we wanted to pick up because everything was so beautiful and it was just a wonderful atmosphere, and both me and my mom, we really enjoyed going there. This is me trying to tell you about the second yarn store that we discovered by accident. It's called the Afstap, and also with this footage you are not able to hear a single word I say. So I will try to describe what we found inside a little bit, because for this yarn store I was not able to take any footage because there were a lot of people there, and I always feel uncomfortable having people that I do not know in my footage without asking them first, and it would be a very unpolite, I feel, and also inconvenient to have asked them all, like everybody who was there. It was very crowded, so I felt it was inappropriate to film there. But it was absolutely lovely, and I really recommend giving it a visit if you're in Amsterdam. So I will try to describe it a little bit for you, while you can just watch some footage of Amsterdam, of the lovely streets, and you can just listen to the description if you want to. If you come in, then on the left-hand side were stairs going up, and there was like a little gallery there with people sitting and knitting together. I'm not sure if it was like a workshop or just like a knitting group, but it was a lovely atmosphere. People were having so much fun knitting together, people of very different ages. So it was a very lovely group that seemed to have a lot of fun. And there were also quite a bit of knitting books and magazines that you could look into and that you could buy. There was Pom Pom magazine, but also a lot of Rowan magazines, and it was very inspiring. You could just, it's like a little library. You can have a look at so many things. It was very interesting. And what I also very liked about this is the yarns that they have. It was a great selection. It was not so much hand-dyed yarns, but like very good quality brands of yarn, like for example Rowan yarns. They had a huge color selection of Rowan felted tweed, which is a stunning yarn. I have one color at home already, and my mom was very tempted as well because the colorways are so lovely. And they also had Mary Wallen yarns, which are perfect for her colorwork designs or colorwork designs in general. And there were also quite a bit of sweaters and designs that were in the yarn shop that you could have a look at, and it was really, really lovely. So I really recommend visiting that yarn store if you're in Amsterdam, and I've marked it on the map for you as well, so you can find it, because it's from the outside, the windows and everything is quite small, so we just walked past it, and we almost walked past it without noticing it because we did not have planned to visit it. I think it's not as widely known as, for example, Stephen and Penelope's, but it's absolutely worth a visit, especially if hand-dyed yarns are not your go-to yarn. Like if you like this good quality known brand yarns, then this yarn store really is something that you should consider visiting. It's really nice. And the third yarn store that we visited is Hooks and Yarn. And that one we had planned, so we actively went to find it, and we were lucky. The lady there was so lovely, and we chatted a little bit, and she also allowed me to take a little bit of footage for you. She had a stunning crochet blanket in her window, which was absolutely beautiful, and I believe I heard a conversation with the owner and another customer, and I believe she said that blanket was a pattern that she had on Ravelry, but I'm not entirely sure. And she had this lovely way of displaying the yarns that she had. I believe it was spindrift in these circles on the wall. It was very beautiful, and also Alafas Lopi from Eastex and Pluto Lopi, and there were also a few hand-dyed yarns. So it was kind of a mixture of hand-dyed and commercial brands, but also a very good selection. So I find that within these 3 yarn stores, the selection was always different. So you can always discover something new that the other store did not have. That is great. So if you combine these 3 stores, you have such a great and large selection of yarns that is absolutely amazing for one city, I believe. And I really enjoyed that yarn store too, and I was very, very happy that I was allowed to film there, and I decided to pick up something there as well. And just as unexpected to you as it maybe was for me, of course I bought some sock yarn because I wanted to try out my new little Chaigu needles, and I went for Shepius, I don't know, how do you pronounce it? Is it Shepius or Shepius? Metropolis. And this is a sock yarn, like a typical sock yarn, with a 75% extra fine merino and 25% nylon. And the colorway is called 66 Copenhagen. Yes. And I find this surprisingly soft, and I really enjoyed working with it. So I bought 2 of these balls, and I can only show you one because I already started knitting from the first one, but I won't show you the sock yet, as I am keeping that for the next podcast episode. But I really enjoy this yarn. I really like working with it. It's nice on my hands, and it also feels, how do you say it? It feels like really, like the right amount of density and softness for a sock. So it really, the stitches really fill up the whole fabric, and there are not a lot of, it's not like a very open fabric, but perfect for socks. I really, really enjoy this. And I think the combination of a yarn that I have not worked with and a needle that I have not worked with have made me a sock lover now. Yes, I'm very happy with it. And I don't know, can you see that it has a little bit of variation in itself? Like there is it's somewhere between gray and brown. It has some lighter parts and some darker parts and some like more rustic brown parts. Yes, I hope that that is visible. And it's really convenient. It has this like little starting point where you can just pull from. And so far that worked very, very good for me. Another thing that we did, and that was nice to see, is the flower market, which does not sell fresh cut flowers, but tulip bulbs. So these little onion-shaped things that you can put in the ground to grow your own tulips. So it was quite a variety that you can find there, and there were not only tulips but also a lot of other beautiful plants. Of course, this was a place that was very crowded. There were a lot of tourists there, and still it was nice. It's not like a place where you can spend hours and hours. It's basically one street along one of the canals, but it was still nice to see. And I also marked this on the map that is linked below if you want to find it, and maybe you enjoy it too. If you are into Italian food, I also have a recommendation for an Italian restaurant that my mom and I ate at, and it was absolutely the best Italian food I have had in years. We both had pasta, and we believe it was homemade pasta, and it was so good. And before we got our main dish, they served freshly baked bread with garlic butter, and oh my, it was so good. So I obviously did not take footage there. I find it inappropriate in a restaurant to film at the evening time. It was very small and cozy and a lovely place. And I also couldn't take footage outside because in the street where it was, there was a construction site. So the building where it was currently covered by this construction structure. So you could not see the building. So it did not make any sense for me to film this. But I put this on the map as well. And if you are into Italian food, then really check it out. It was absolutely great, and I don't know a place that is as good as that one in the town where I live, so it was really worth a visit. As a little souvenir, I also picked up this postcard with the houses that are typical for Amsterdam. This is very representative of what we saw, and I will keep this as a little memory for myself. The final thing that my mom and I did was a little boat tour on the canals of Amsterdam, which was about an hour long and was 16 euros per adult. And I can really recommend that. It was wonderful to have like the perspective on the beautiful houses on Amsterdam, on the whole city from the water. It was a nice different point of view. And I will now close off this video with the footage from this boat tour. And I really hope you enjoyed this whole thing. You will enjoy the boat tour. And I'm looking forward to come back to you with a regular knitting podcast episode very soon. Bye!